How to get a $300,000 business loan incredibly fast without interest rates. That is right. Even without collateral and no hard credit checks. I'm going to show you all of that and much more. But before I get started, my name is Michael from Viral Funding Solutions, and I come out with content like this on all small business loans, cash advances, building business credit the right way, taking advantage of different opportunities online, and so much more. So if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Click that bell notification icon so you do not miss any future videos I will be coming out with, not only on how to get a 300,000 business loan, but I've come out with other content in the past on how to get a 50,000, a 25,000, etc. That I will leave for you down below. But there is a common pattern to all of this. And what it is, it's what is the use of your funds? Ultimately, if you want to get 300,000, we have to take a step back. And I'm sure you've done this already. You are perhaps saying to yourself right now, I know what I'm using these funds for. Just give me the rates and give me these terms, which I will touch on them briefly. I'll be getting into the share screen in a moment, showing you one of the best places to go and get this 300,000 and other amounts of funding incredibly fast within a day of approval, sometimes even same day, and funds the same day, but not in all cases. So make sure you stick with me for that. Now, there are categories, there are levels to this. And I've come out with content on the past talking about this, on how if you are requesting anything like less than 100,000, you don't need to supply these financials like the year to date, the current last year's to date, profit and loss, balance sheet, etc. Perhaps a year's of tax return or the most recent. But if you're over 100,000, if we're talking about now the 300,000 range, yes, most likely what will be asked of you is the most recent filed tax return, and it depends on the service. I'm going to get into this in a moment, but some programs are different. If it's like an SBA, maybe it's an SBA 7A, we're looking at 2 years of business taxes, 2 years of personal taxes, the year-to-date financials, profit and loss balance sheets, and a few bits of other details in there. So I will touch upon that briefly as we move forward. And then again, there are other places where we might just need your most recent years of tax return filed. We will then need the financials to look at. And this is just to see how everything is going. We want to make sure at the end of the day that you can repay the lender, right? They don't just give you money as a gift. They're saying, here's money, go out and make use of it, keep your company stable, afloat, increase the profits. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure we're getting it all back in return. That's why there are these things like personal guarantees. And if you can't get accepted through the bank in a traditional sense, there are some programs out there, and I'll show you one of them today, where you don't have to supply collateral, any form of hard real estate, maybe accounts receivables. You don't have to give up any kind of equipment, inventory, etc., whatever is considered as collateral for those lenders. And you don't have to go through these hard credit checks and even no interest rates. That's right, we calculate on total payback. But that's more or less what is expected. And then an underwriter can get on the call with you. Sometimes it's just one, maybe it could be 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 3. Not so many, as opposed to you going maybe into the 500,000 and above to $1 million, then it becomes a bit different of a conversation. Then the underwriters may want another phone call and some more financial information from you, maybe another year's of tax returns. But yeah, that's what you can expect. Categories are different. Anything, again, 100,000 and below. And I've had people who get approved for 300,000. There's people who get approved for 600,000, and they say, well, I don't want to have to supply all of that information. Let me just get what I can now because I really need use of it. So they take 100,000. And in a lot of cases, it's not usually 100,000 and above, but 150,000 and above. Sometimes we would then need the financials, and then we probably have to look at about the most recent filed tax return. But in a lot of cases, 100,000 to 150, you can get away with not having to supply all that. Just about 3 months of bank statements, 4 to 6, 300,000, 4 to 6, sometimes 12 months, depending on if it's an SBA type of setup. There's differences within all of this. Maybe it's an unsecured business term loan, a secured one where you're putting up some kind of collateral to drop the rates or the interest rates. Maybe you're putting accounts receivable up front so that can give you the lowest amount of an interest, maybe up to 2%, 2% and below, who knows? Or maybe it's another form of collateral where we're then falling above up to 5%, 5% and above. But you have to look at what service you're going for to get that 300,000. And if you really need that, is another thing. We look at revenue as a strong point. If it's an SBA, it's revenue. We have the 3 C's here. We have cash flow, collateral, and we have credit. So the SBA is usually on those 3, depends on how much you're asking for, what is considered collateral to them at what point, and also what kind of a down payment. Maybe it's 10% to 20%, maybe it's up to 10%. This depends on the funding program and the type that you are getting, how much you can get approved for and what you can put down. But I'm going to show you a program in a moment, like I said, where you don't have to put much of that, not really anything of that. And you can get funding really fast. And so let me get into the share screen here to show you how you can get your 300,000. And if it isn't 300,000, like I said, again, you could probably get more, or you can scale back and take what you can get. Yes, there are programs out there that can have a smaller interest rates, a lower rate, and that's what you are looking for if you're rate sensitive. But like I said in the beginning, you have to look at what is the use of your funds. Does it even make sense for you to go to these extremely lower or just in the lower range of an interest rates with higher terms, with longer or with monthly payments? Not in all cases. If you need a longer term for that 300,000, you may want to look at an SBA 7A, but we can get you approved within 1 to 3 days and funds 1 to 3 months. In a lot of cases, 3 months. Can you wait that long? And it's an excruciating process. It's strenuous. I've talked to a lot of business owners about that. And some come through, others just opt not to. And it also depends on if you qualify for it. But at the end of the day, will the use of those funds make sense for you to have a longer term? That's what you have to look at. So you have to look at the repayment in a lot of cases, not exactly the interest rate. And that's what I tell a lot of people. And with a company here, like you're looking at a David Allen Capital Link, we can get you up to 2 million incredibly fast within a day to 2 of approval, within a day to 2 funds deposited in your account. Just imagine getting that really quickly. You can go in and inject it, whether it is you got approved for everything or not, or you want to scale back and you say, well, I'm going to come back and get more. I know how fast this is working. Let's go. And then you take that, you inject it, and it keeps you stable and it increases your bottom line. And now you have this relationship built, not only with myself, our underwriters and the lenders, they know you. They're like, oh, there's Gary. Oh, there's Sally. Yeah. The second time around, we can get you the more, the better. Here you go. We can even drop the rates. You were at a 1.23 total payback. We can probably get you 1.1, 1.21 now. Got you 600,000 last time. You got actually approved now for 700,000. Wow. And then now we can increase the terms. We got you 18 months. Now we can get you up to 20, 21, 22. That'd make more sense to you. And you have to look at these things. And again, the use of funds. Do you really need that 300,000 for 2+ years? You have to question that. SBAs, 7As, 5 to 25. Not everybody gets the EIDL, the EIDL. Perhaps you did, but you are looking for an alternative or something to add on top of that. Maybe you're waiting, you got denied. It just doesn't work out. Maybe you get less than what you wanted and you can get more elsewhere. With 4 to 24 months, up to 2 million, how helpful would that be to you? And you have to, I get it, sit back and understand the numbers and get a better evaluation. And if that's the case, I highly recommend filling out this questionnaire that I've created for you on my website, Viral Funding Solutions. And this is a questionnaire form. It's not an application. I don't want to confuse people. What this will do, it'll give you a more personalized and customized response on your best option and options. What happens is you fill out these simple funding details and you're like, that does not look simple. And it really is. You can get done with this in less than 30 seconds if you have it all here. And it's not a lot to gather. And if you don't know some things, just try not to leave them blank and understand what it says before you fill it all out. Like time in business, is it years or months? Please specify. And you will get all of this. It'll show up in my email. What I will then do is analyze it, evaluate it, and give you a proper, more customized and personalized response. I want to get to know you. I don't just look at this as a business transaction. I don't even think of that in a lot of cases. I think about who you are as the human being. How are you doing? How's your day going? Oh, how's this? Oh, you have this going on the weekend. Cool. What do you got going on? What are you guys doing? What's happening with the family? Yeah. And so this is going to help you in a lot of ways because I'm going to give you a very thorough response via email, and it'll show you everything on your best funding option and options, my recommendations, everything broken down into numbers, and if need be, and then also conclusion, what I would do, what I recommend you do. There'll be links to these applications after I show you how, if the qualifications, how it works, and everything broken down. Those applications, review videos on lenders or in brokerages and programs like that, and where you can get in and out like that. I've had people come in, don't ask questions, boom, they're gone. And if you have a few questions that I didn't ask, say in that email, or maybe there's something that wasn't said in the because I give you video content as well as blog post content, then you can bring it up to me and we can speak about it. You can respond back to that email. You can send me a quick text message. I don't bother you. I don't heckle you or hassle you or anything like that. So you can get up to $2 million incredibly fast funding with David Allen Capital with 4 to 24 months. These are daily, sometimes weekly payments. Now that's where you're probably shutting off, but you can start off with weekly with higher revenue details. And especially if you're a paper lending client material, and this is just some underwriting guidelines we go through. If we can get you the lowest total payback, meaning we can get you between 1.19 to 1.49. So let's say you get approved for 300,000, then you'll have to pay back depending on 1.19 to 1.49. So maybe you got a 1.23, so 300,000 times 1.23 is what you'd expect to pay back. And then I can do some numbers for you that will then calculate what your daily, weekly, even biweekly, and even monthly payment will be, and then work from there. And so again, like I said, we can move you a lot of the times into a weekly if you have the right funding criteria. We have underwriting guidelines, get you the best terms. I've had people just recently, and I will continuously have this, people getting accepted for that amount of 300,000 and getting scaled back, or taking the 300,000 or going for more 600,000 and above, and not necessarily needing these monthly, because it's usually daily or weekly. Monthly causes a lot of defaults, and there's a lot of risks to that, especially with other programs. So don't always believe what you see. And in cases, a lot of the times what I see is when you get a longer term, let me back up. So when you need a longer term, you may need it because you just got a new warehouse, you're maybe renovating something, or you're doing some additional things, you're adding some kind of a roof to it, some tiling, some stuff for inventory purposes, and it's going to be an outdated, pushed out process. And then you have something else on top of that. Maybe you're moving to another building, or maybe you're just moving to another building, another facility, or you need it for equipment. If you need equipment financing, specifically traditionally in leasing, then I'll leave more information on that down below, but it's not at the moment equipment financing traditionally or leasing with David Allen Capital. I know we had that at one point. It may come back again, but I'll leave some other bits and details for that. But again, fill out that questionnaire will be the best thing. And I also have a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist that will save you time. We're talking about days, weeks, months, and even years of having to sift through old and outdated information, scammy stuff that just does not work. So you have that confidence 100% of the time that you can walk into an application and know with that certainty that you can get approved, and you know what you have coming in with. You won't have any questions in mind why you got that offer. You're like, okay, that makes sense because of my credit, or okay, I have a great credit, but the revenue isn't as strong, and the time in business is this, and then this, and the bank statements. Okay, now I know what to do because I explained it to you. And not a lot of people will give you this, so I want to make sure you have it. So the best thing to do is fill out this questionnaire if you haven't, and you get that free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist alongside with it. So we also have an up to 25K same-day instant approval program. But if you have stronger details, like over 15,000 plus per month, your lowest month is over 15,000, your average over 15,000, et cetera, then we have the up to 2 million program here you can apply with. And that's what I recommend you would do if you want to get 300,000. And like I said, again, if I didn't mention enough of this, I've had people who come through, they get approved for as much as they can get, but they don't want to supply the most recent tax returns. They don't want to supply the financials, right? Profit and loss, balance sheet, et cetera. So then they say, well, I don't want to have to wait some time. I need the funding right now. Can I just take, maybe a minimum of 150,000 or 100,000 and then go from there where I don't have to supply these details, or just 100,000? Sure, you can start off at 150,000, and perhaps we don't have to ask you for all that. We just ask for like 3 months of bank statements, maybe 3 to 6. When you go higher, a lot of the times we ask for a little bit more in bank statements, but you can a lot of the times go through 3 months about voided check and a copy of your driver's license. You can get in and out like that. Helped out a lot of people get funding. And that's pretty much it. And then you may have a lower daily payment, a better weekly payment, and a better monthly payment, you know. And when you look at all of that and the repayment makes sense, then you can move forward with it. And you're going through a heavier season, or you're going through a season that, whoa, this is when we pick up. I really need the funds, no question asked. I don't want to wait for the SBA. Does not even make sense to do an SBA in a lot of cases, just to find out that you did not get approved, and 3 months of waiting, and you're like, well, then there's these unsecured business term loans that can work. They can give you the same, but the interest rates can be between 25 to 50%, but you have additional time. You're like, I don't need past 24 months. But what can I qualify for here? The rates and the terms depends on your funding details. So very quickly, and I made a video for this, I'll leave down below on the rates and the terms, but you can get between 4 to 24 months, between 1.19 to 1.49 total payback, as I said a little bit earlier. And the expectations, if you want the most amount of terms, we're talking about 12 to 24 months, you should be doing northward of 50,000 plus per month within each of the last 3 months. And on average, that and more, and have at least 2+ years in business and as a 700 plus FICO. To get 12 to 20, that's to get between 1.19 to 1.30, excuse me, to back up, that's on the rate. That's to get the lower amount. Now, if you don't fall in between that, you're doing B to C to D plus, and you have less funding criteria, it's not where it needs to be for A-paper lending, then we can be looking at a 1.30 to 1.49 in total payback. And then we have to factor in your credit scores and a few other bits of details. But for terms, 12 to 24 months, ideally 1+ years of business, 50,000 plus per month, similar to the rates. And then like a 675 plus and above, or can get far even less with that in some cases. But I won't go into it in so depth. Some of that stuff can even change over time. So I'll leave it down below, but you have an idea of how you can qualify for that. 7 to 11 months, 625 or so and above, 600 and above, 7 to 11 months, less than 500, 600, 4 to 6 months in a lot of cases. With revenue though, you have a lot of it. It can help override that in a lot of cases, and we can push for more, but that's what a lot of the times you will see. And if you need help building your business credit and helping your personal credit, I'll leave information in that down below. You can pick up a free video series on building business credit and a lot more. But like I said, there's these programs. There's the up to 25K Bank Breezy. We have the line of credit where we can get you at the moment between 5,000 to 100,000. That can change over time. It may not be just a maximum of 100,000, but you don't always need 300,000. And a lot of people don't. They say, well, I can take what I can get. Or here's another advantage. Here's a pro tip. You can take the lump sum if you needed that, and then we can try to add you a line of credit. Perhaps we're like, we get you 100,000 is what you wanted actually in a lump sum. We can do that and supply you with 100,000 in a line of credit, 200,000, or we can do 200,000 and 100,000 here. It just depends on how you look at it, and do you qualify for it? And also, you have to question, if you're doing a cash advance thing, how many positions do you have? More than one, more than two, three? That can reduce the amount you get. Some people come to me asking me, can I help buy it out? And in some ways we can. So there's a lot of little things we have to look at. And if you have multiple positions, does that cause a reduction? How much of it? Usually it's a reduction. So if you got like 60,000 here, we might get you 40, 50, well, who knows? We have to look at other positions and other details. And there's much more to look at. But a line of credit and a funding, they're not correlated. So you can have multiple positions in these advances over here and not have it affect your line of credit. You might have multiple positions here, doesn't affect the lump sum. So it's different. So that will conclude everything in this video. Just to recap, you can usually get 10 to 15% off your annual gross sales. With David Allen Capital here, we can get you between 75% to 200% your lowest month in your average we look at as well. And the better cash flow, the better deposits, the credit, we can accept you with as little as a 500 plus FICO, but just keep this in mind, the higher the credit score, the better terms we can get you, the better funding amount we can get you, the better the payment history that you have all under this, the more time in business, the better. A 1+ year, 2+ years is desirable. If not, that's okay, less than a year. We can look at things as well. But what we have to look at is your expectations of that 300,000. Do you really need a longer term? If you need a longer term for what you use those funds for, then it may make sense to do an SBA 7A, 504, etc. And I'll leave information on those programs. There's also unsecured business term loans, equipment financing, lines of credits here, and so forth, more. There are a variety of personal loans. Maybe you're in the real estate industry and this does not apply to you 100%. Maybe it does. If you're in real estate with somebody like David Allen Capital, just don't use it for flipping a house, right? We don't want to get funds through here trying to flip a house. There are other ways of doing that through real estate financing specifically. And if you need help on that side of the equation too, I do that a lot, as well as both, and a lot more. So get in touch with me. There's that questionnaire form. It won't hurt. It doesn't hurt your credit score. It says enter your FICO credit score. That is confidential between you and I. It's not a application, and we can go from there. And if you don't know your FICO, Experian, My FICO, go look it up for free. Come back here. You can also give me a range if you don't have the exact one, but a more precise one gives me an idea of where you will fall in the ballpark. And like I said, if you don't need it all at once, you don't want to go through supplying all that information. Even if you're 600,000 and above, it may make more sense. But like I said, it doesn't always have to be a longer term with these monthly lower rates, 5 to 9%, 6 to 18%. And if you qualify for that, great. If you don't, there's a solution here. Even if you qualified for the other one, and if you don't want to go there, this works exceptionally well. And if you want more of a personalized assessment on all these options, numbers broken down, you can fill this out. And or you can also go through the business capital. There's videos on David Allen Capital down below. You can learn more about them and all the other ones that I've already come out with, how to get 50,000, et cetera, 80,000, or, the list goes on, 250,000, the expectations. But does the benefit exceed the repayment is what you have to look at the end of the day. Doesn't matter all the time if it's an interest rate that's lower, or if it's a medium to high. You have to look at, is the benefit going to exceed my repayments? And there's a lot of benefits of coming through here, a lot of bonus tips and a lot of bonus stuff that you get through me by getting all my material and going through all this content that you've seen here today. Now, that will conclude everything. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please voice them to me down below in the comment section. I will leave more of this in the description to get started. I know I didn't show you all the services. I spoke on them briefly to get 300,000, the expectations and the amount of funding. Is it even make sense for you? Maybe it's a shorter term projects. You don't need that extended amount of time and that interest. You don't want to go down that route. Then there's an option here like David Allen Capital link. And if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so and click that bell notification icon once again so you do not miss any future videos I come out with. Talk to you all soon. Take care.